With 10 trophies and a golden ball to his name, Anderson Oliveira's football career is definitely not considered a failure. However, when you start to scratch away at the surface of the Brazilian who was once destined for stardom, things aren't so simple. They never are when a player once rated as a top potential superstar by none other than Sir Alex Ferguson hangs his boots at the young age of 31. Join us as we cover the highs and lows of Anderson's short career and shed some light on where everything started going wrong for the young Brazilian. You won't want to skip to the end as you'll miss the warning signs along the way. In November 2005, a few months after winning the golden ball at the Under-17 World Cup, a 17-year-old boy named Anderson Oliveira made Grêmio history when he scored the game-winning goal against Náutico in the extra time of a game that helped the club secure a place in Serie A. It is now known as the Batalha dos Aflitos, or Battle of the Afflicted. It was an extraordinary moment for a player whose career was about to take off. Playing consistently well at such a young age, he was able to secure a £6 million transfer to Porto in January of 2006. For someone so young, switching from South America to Europe was not an easy change, but Anderson was already more mature than most children his age. He had lost his father in 2001 and witnessed many of his friends' drug-related deaths. He was aware of how difficult life could be. Anderson explained, "I became used to being a man very young. When I was 15, I was already thinking as if I was 22, 23 or 24 and making very tough decisions about my future. Football helped me out in my life. I can tell you that from my first group of friends, only 2 or 3 are still alive." On March 5, 2006, Anderson made his league debut for Porto, contributing massively to the team's 2005-2006 Primeira Liga Championship. However, Anderson missed 5 months of the season because of a fractured leg sustained in a tackle by Benfica's Kostas Katsourannis. Despite this, he still managed to play 15 games in the 2006-2007 season, scoring 2 goals and earning another league winner's medal. When healthy, Anderson performed to such a high level that Manchester United paid £25 million in May 2007. It's incredible that Anderson only made 21 appearances for Porto before Manchester United came in to sign him for £25 million. Anderson was already close friends with new Portuguese-speaking teammates Cristiano Ronaldo and Nani, and he claimed Wayne Rooney's former number 8 shirt. He was highly regarded by Sir Alex Ferguson and was destined to stay in the United team for the long run. His first season with the team saw some standout performances against teams like Liverpool and Arsenal, the latter leading to a crowd chant from the Red Devils praising his qualities above Cesc Fabregas's. The fact that Anderson won the Golden Boy Award, an honour given to Lionel Messi, Cesc Fabregas and Sergio Aguero in prior seasons at the end of 2008, confirmed his status as one of the world's most promising young players. The Brazilian swiftly established his claim for a starting position, and even came on during the 2008 Champions League final, where he ended up converting a penalty in a thrilling shootout against Chelsea. Unfortunately, this would be his last season at the top of his game. Anderson would regrettably start making frequent trips to the injury table. Due to a knee injury and an awful incident that almost killed him, his season in 2006 and 2010 was cut short. On July 30th, 2010, in Portugal, Anderson drove away from the nightclub he'd been partying at. Not too far from the club, at 7 in the morning, the car went off the road, hit a farm wall, and then drove into a field. Anderson had to be dragged out from the vehicle unconscious. The fact that he was removed just before it exploded is even more terrifying. The car also contained a second male and a woman. All 3 received minor medical attention at a hospital for whiplash, concussions and shock. Anderson came back to United to continue his recovery. But it seems Anderson didn't learn his lesson, as a week before his 24th birthday, authorities in his hometown of Porto Alegre forced his bodyguard to drive him home after he refused to submit to a breathalyzer test. Even Ferguson, a man not afraid to pop the anticipation bubble, found it difficult to contain his excitement as Anderson's hype reached an all-time high. He stated, "Anderson has been absolutely superb. The boy has definitely got something special." However, Anderson found it hard to remain consistent over time. In 105 Premier League games, he only managed to score 5 goals and provide 8 assists. During his first 5 years at Manchester United, numerous injuries, several false starts, and apparent weight fluctuation and a questionable off-field attitude all had an impact on the midfielder's career. According to former United goalkeeper Ben Foster, Anderson could have been the finest in the world if only he'd put in the effort. The midfielder had the ability to excel, but his lack of professionalism and his love for McDonald's prevented him from reaching his full potential. In his autobiography, former Manchester United defender Raphael also discussed Anderson's obsession with McDonald's. Even Dimitar Berbatov mentioned how unprofessional he was. He said that during his tenure at Manchester United, Anderson was the worst trainer. Berbatov said that Anderson used to annoy him during practice. As a result of eating McDonald's and junk food frequently, he suffered at the club, which is pretty disappointing considering he was playing at one of the biggest clubs in the world. Mick Clegg, a power and strength coach for Manchester United at the time, gave insights on the most shocking thing related to Anderson during his time at the club. Clegg, who spent 4 years with Anderson, became so fed up with his laziness that he told Sir Alex he was going to hit Anderson with his bloody stick. Sir Alex was shocked and told him not to do something like that. Apparently, 6 weeks later, Sir Alex was looking for the same stick so he could beat Anderson with it. Clegg even called him a party animal. No one is denying Anderson's skills and potential, but it's hard to have some sympathy for someone whose behaviour was like that. What's more disappointing is the fact that Sir Alex, the person who hailed Anderson as one of the top youngsters in the world and was excited for his time at United, was so disappointed that he wanted to hit him with a stick. To make matters worse, a drug dealer and one of the heads of the largest and most organised gang of traffickers in Porto Alegre, Richard Alex de Silva Martins, was arrested at Anderson's home. Martins had used a Porsche Cayenne, which was registered in the name of the player when he escaped from prison. While Anderson was not involved in the case, it's still quite surprising that Anderson was housing a criminal. A lot was going on in Anderson's life at the time. On the pitch, things were also not going to plan. With the club's strategy changing significantly after Ronaldo's departure, instead of the creative role for which Anderson was originally recruited, Sir Alex repositioned Anderson to play a more defensive midfield role. The end result was that his first season at United was his best. David Moyes in his debut season appeared to experiment with different midfielder pairings. However, Anderson still failed to secure a regular start. The Brazilian started just twice in Moyes' first year at United, and neither appearance lasted more than an hour. It is undeniable proof that Moyes was unconvinced of Anderson's merits. To add insult to injury, the defender Phil Jones was frequently favoured as a midfield option over him. That is definitely a very sad outcome on a player who Brazil legend Mario Zagallo once called a prodigy with undisputable quality. He even added in the interview, "Everything suggests he is going to be a superstar." Anderson was a very outgoing and well-liked teammate at Manchester United, which may have contributed to his extended stay there despite his lack of results. His samba dancing goal celebration is a sight that makes all United supporters happy to this day. According to ManUnited.com, Anderson played for the Reds more times than any other South American player in history. When Ferguson left Old Trafford, Anderson's career at the club was basically over. David Moyes loaned him to Fiorentina and Louis van Gaal gave him away for free the following year. When the midfielder returned to Brazil nearly 10 years after his Grêmio days, he failed to live up to his past reputation and left a bad first impression on his new fans. In his first 2 games, he only lasted 36 minutes in the high altitude of Bolivia and even missed a penalty on his debut. The situation did not improve as he was sent off back-to-back in 2 consecutive games and was also replaced at half-time after a stinker in a 5-0 loss to his former team at Grêmio. Even though Anderson eventually found some success in his native country, he decided to transfer to Turkish 2nd Division team Adana Demirspor in 2018. However, after making only 14 appearances for the Turkish side, Anderson decided not to participate in another one. The club president of Adana said Anderson had switched from the field to an off-field position. A career that began with an enormous bang concluded with hardly a mumble when he hung up his boots at the young age of 31. But that wasn't the end for Anderson, as he would once again make the morning news and shock the football world. In 2021, Anderson was accused of taking part in a cryptocurrency money laundering scam. According to Globo, the former midfielder is under investigation by a Brazilian court due to concerns that he and 7 other individuals were involved in a 35 million Brazilian real or £5.3 million money laundering scheme using cryptocurrency. It is stated that the funds were taken from a significant industrial company and placed in 11 bank accounts across 4 Brazilian states. The funds were then used to buy several cryptocurrencies both domestically and overseas. Anderson's attorney claims he's innocent, but if found guilty, he could serve a significant amount of time in prison. From rough beginnings to having the world at his feet only to be accused of a crime worth millions, Anderson has lived quite a life. However, for Grêmio fans, he will always be remembered as the one who gave them the sweetest of victories as a teenage star. What do you think caused Anderson Oliveira's decline? Let us know in the comments.